I'm Jeannie Ralston. I know some of you are new faces. Welcome. I'm so excited about this trip to Vietnam. I didn't even know that I wanted to go for sure until I saw Anne's itinerary. And I want to introduce Anne Hillers, who I've known for years. She is an expert traveler. She's done trips all over the world, and she loves Vietnam, and she says, let's do a Vietnam trip. And once I saw her itinerary, I said, I'm coming too. So, Anne, tell us everything you love about Vietnam and why you chose Vietnam as like a must-do place.
Hi, everybody. Just introduce myself, Ann Hillers. I went to Vietnam the first time right after it opened up in 1994. They started letting people come back after the Vietnam War, and I took a group of American investors there, and it was very rustic and very undeveloped at that time. But these people in that group were looking to start a business or invest somehow in Vietnam and the Renaissance once the war was over. So I sort of fell in love with it there because it was just kind of an incredible place. It has changed quite a bit, but quite a bit better for the locals. I went back again in 2013, I believe, with a group of women. And it was kind of amazing to see some of the changes because we went back to China Beach that I had seen in 1994, and I didn't even recognize that we were anywhere near China Beach when we were there because I kept saying, oh, where's that little mangrove forest where you walk out onto the beach, which is where the American GIs went for their R&R. And I said, oh, this is it. And it was now this development of, high rises and hotels. And it was kind of remarkable what they had done in 20 odd years. And I went with a group of women, and it was probably one of the best trips I ever led. People loved it, and we just had such a great time. And we're doing something not identical but similar. Some of the places were overlapping. Some of the places we're not going back to just because of weather conditions. Vietnam is a very long country, so you can have one climate up north, and then something different down in the south or central. But we did the Halong Bay tour. We did Hanoi. We just had a ball. We loved being on the boat in Halong Bay. Hanoi is kind of great. Have any of you been to Asia? Anywhere in Southeast Asia? Either. Let me make sure I can turn off.
You see,
that
raise your hand if you've been to Southeast Asia.
No. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Well, then, I mean, you have so much in store for you. Southeast Asia is one of my favorite travel places, partly because it's affordable. It's so different than Europe or the States. It just has this hospitality element where the service everywhere is just so lovely. When you go into hotels, they have beautiful flower arrangements, and they have these scents of lemongrass and jasmine just kind of everywhere because people are selling flowers all over the streets too. So every hotel, every restaurant will have little flowers everywhere. And people are very friendly. You think going there, wow, we're Americans. What's it going to be like as an American coming to Vietnam, based on the entire war experience. And they're incredibly forgiving and forgetting. They love Americans. They admire our culture. They have taught themselves English by listening to YouTube and watching American films and TV. And they're extremely welcoming, like more than you could ever imagine after, what happened. And that's one of the really interesting things about Vietnam, because a lot of us only know it from the prism of the war and our side and the GIs and the loss and the, all the names even that you recognize, Saigon and Hanoi and just other war sites that have become kind of synonymous with the entire conflict. So going there, you feel that sense of this is where one of the most important pieces of American history took place. But then you get there and it's just a wonderful travel destination.
And I think that to me adds a whole nother level. I mean, I love it when you can go to a destination and there's there's so many different things that, you know, it's very rich texture. And I think that the fact that we have, as Americans, have ties to that country, not the best ties, not the most happy ties, but I think that I'm sure there's a sense of discovery, you know, about our past, and that whole sense of forgiveness and the whole sense of moving on. I mean, it's so beautiful. And I love the idea of giving back to these people, you know, visiting their country, showing that Americans, you know, are, you know, putting our best face on. So for them too. So I've done a little PowerPoint, just because a slideshow really. So you can see so Anne can talk us through the itinerary, kind of what we'll be doing. And then after that, Anne and I both will be open for questions, and I'm sure you'll have some. So we'll be thrilled to do that. Now, just bear with me a minute. It's kind of an awkward transition when I go to share my screen. You're going to see lots of messy stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to put up here my slideshow. Okay, slideshow. Wait, hold on there. Play from the start. Okay. Yay! I did it. Okay. So, I did.
Yeah. You started anyway. We just started.
Yeah. The technology. I actually have to say that as I was going through the itinerary again and putting the slideshow together, I didn't realize how stunning the landscapes were going to be until I just really was putting stuff together. And a lot of these places are considered some of the most gorgeous places on earth by like National Geographic magazine, and you know, there's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is just, it's almost otherworldly, some of these places. So, but we started in Hanoi, and which, if you know, I haven't been to Vietnam, but I've been to like Taiwan and through China and Japan, and I know that the energy of a Asian city, I imagine, right? And it's very full.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Hanoi especially. It's a little frenetic. It's a little crazy. The picture that you see on the left with those motorbikes going through must have been taken like at midnight or something. That's very calm. There's a lot. You know, they put some filter on. It's a different time of day because there's a lot. There's a lot of traffic, but mostly motorbikes, those pedicabs, not as many cars. Although I was just in Hanoi in February and again last July, and you see more cars coming. It's just the nature of the world. People are starting to get more wealth. They get cars. They give away their bicycle or their motorcycle and get a car. But still, most of Hanoi are these bikes, these motorcycles with sometimes an entire family of 5 people on them. You'll have a mom, dad, a toddler on the handlebars, and then 2 little kids sandwiched in between. And somehow they just know how to navigate the streets. And you walk across them, you just step across the street, and they go around you because there are no traffic lights or anything. This is in the old town of Hanoi, which is where we'll be staying. So you're just weaving your way through that. It's kind of crazy, but it works, and it's so alive. There are just people everywhere doing stuff.
And is the architecture, I can't really tell, is it like, is there some French?
Yes, in that part, yes, in Old Town, which is really lovely. In other parts of Hanoi, the business district and the area it's called Westlake, which is where John McCain parachuted into the lake. Things up there are much more high-rise and developed and more just, kind of commercial or first world looking. In Old Town, where we're staying, it looks kind of like a cross of New Orleans and Havana or something. It's got a lot of the old French colonial architecture because that's who colonized the Vietnamese and were there for many years. So nothing in Old Town. Well, there are now some high rises that are, hotels that are taller, but all the little businesses and shops and residences are all kind of 2 or 3 stories, and they have, the balconies and the little fretwork, and it looks very much like that all through Old Town.
That's great.
And then the picture down in the, oh, I was just gonna
I'll
say,
go
the picture
back.
down on the right is called Train Street, and it's lined with little coffee shops and people's homes and a couple little, just cafes, and people love to come along there and sit out. The trains don't come that often, and probably you don't actually want to be there when the trains come. But I was telling Jeannie, I was there one morning. I went to Hanoi once by myself. I felt like I had to get away from my family and my life for a little bit. I'm like, I'm heading to Asia. And I went to Hanoi alone last summer, and it was just great. I went to that little street and I had a cappuccino, amazing, with this lovely young man who was the barista. We just sat and talked. There was nobody else on Train Street in the morning. And we talked for a little while, and I took his picture out on the railroad tracks. The lady was out grooming her little tiny poodle. And it was just very local and little slice of life. That is also the Red Bridge that's going over the lake that's in the center of Old Town. That Red Bridge that goes out to the Dakota. I mean, there's a lake in the center of Old Town, and there's just a pedestrian walkway that goes all around it, and I think it's maybe half a mile in circumference.
Yeah,
Which,
I remember you saying that that's usually you'll see people doing Tai Chi and everything.
oh, they're out, yeah, especially on weekends. It's a pedestrian only. The 4 streets that are around it are blocked off, and people are out ballroom dancing and doing Tai Chi, playing chess, just little kids motoring around in little tiny cars. It's like all of Hanoi comes out because a lot of people don't have air conditioning, and it can be warm. Not when we'll be there to be nice. It won't be, humid and hot like it is in July. But so people come out because they don't, they have a very small apartment, so they live sort of outside, and it's lovely just watching everybody go about their business on the weekends and even weekdays in the early morning. Old people out doing Tai Chi and Zumba and other little activities. And our hotel is walking distance to there. It's just, maybe 6-7 minute walk through just some of these little streets like you see there, right down to the lake.
Beautiful. So I highlighted a few things that we'll do. You've talked about the when we're there, the night market. I mean, that's like a good place to go for just the atmosphere and food and.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a market that's kind of open all the time, but at night they bring out a lot more food stalls. It's filled with souvenirs and also knockoff clothing. I mean, you might think, but if you want North Face, if you want Columbia, if you want Adidas, it all looks exactly like the real thing, but $10 for a fleece North Face jacket. I got one for one of my kids. And you don't know that they're not, for all you know, maybe they are the real thing. They just take them off the back of a truck or something. But it's hard to tell the real from the fake. But it's fun. Everybody goes and buys sneakers and luggage and sweatshirts and fleeces and
And I know that you like to eat street food, but if you're not a street food person, is it fairly safe for eating? I mean, have you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been now a number of times with groups. I don't think I've ever had anybody get sick. And we either eat in a restaurant or we eat the street food, like you'll see there. Everybody local is out eating on the streets on little tiny stools about this
I
thing.
love those stools.
You're sitting on a little plastic stool at a little plastic table, and the food's just churning through because they're serving hundreds of people all day. But there are lots of great restaurants, including Pizza 4Ps, where we're going to go have dinner, which is remarkable. If you need a little break from Vietnamese, it has the most amazing Japanese fusion, Japanese French fusion, including great pizzas, but also salads and a crab pasta that's unbelievable. So there are lots of great restaurants if you're not interested.
Great. And I know we're going to do a pottery class, which I'm really looking forward to. And Vietnam.
Yeah, that too is right in Old Town near our hotel. We'll just walk over to there and we'll have a little talk about the process and who the people are that make this kind of pottery, because they do have a village out in the countryside, but it's a little farther than we want to go, where everybody there specializes in making this particular style of pottery. So we'll make it with some of the people from the village in the shop.
Fabulous. And I love that there's a Vietnamese women's museum.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely place. I've been there a few times. They don't change the exhibits much. So you're some of them are older, but they always have like one slightly new thing out in the front outside of the thing. But it's you just learn so much about the Vietnamese women, their role in the war, their role in Vietnamese life, the role of the women that you will see everywhere on bikes selling flowers and fruits and vegetables and nuts from their bike. And they will ride their bikes or push them with these enormous baskets full of produce or flowers to sell. And they come into the city and they'll do that for maybe 2 weeks until they've sold everything. And then they go back out to their family out in the village. And they have a little film on that. It's quite moving because you realize you see the women all day and they're like, would you like this? Would you like that? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And then you see this movie and you realize, wow, these people have an entire family that is supported by them, and they live in kind of a dorm style thing with a bunch of other women and sell their stuff, and then they go home maybe for a day every couple of weeks. And that's a nice exhibit at the museum. They have a great little gift store there. But yes, they have things about Vietnamese wedding culture, wedding gowns and different tribal costumes for different types of ceremonies. It's a great little spot. And again, that's what distance from our hotel. Our hotel's in a great spot, and we'll see everything on foot.
Like it. So we have transportation, a nice transportation taken care of, and so we're going out to the countryside. And that's one thing I love about this itinerary is that we spend a lot of time in the countryside. And so one is called Sapa, this region. So and I mean, this is one of the places where you've got incredible rice terraces, and you've got some of the ethnic minorities that will come across, quite a few. It seems like a concentration of.
Yeah, it's one of the few places really in the world that still has ethnic minorities, living and working and going about their daily activities still in their native dress. There's a couple tribes in North Laos and in China. This is Sapa is right on the Chinese border, very close to the Chinese border. It's the very northern part of Vietnam. So these tribes are very authentic. They're not there for the tourists. They're not just putting on this native dress for tourists. This is just how they live. And they basically farm rice. That's one of their main subsistence activities. Of course, they have adapted to tourism because they're in a place where people come to visit them and want to buy their wares because they do a lot of weaving and dyeing of fabric textiles. So of course they're going to make things that look like what they're wearing and sell that to tourists, but it's still very authentic. This is just where they live. And this is their native home.
Like, look at this picture. I saw this and I was like blown away. And you did tell me that they won't be harvesting rice when we're there because we'll be there in November. But
yeah, we'll be post-harvest, so we may not see as much of this lush green that you're seeing there. Of course, these terraces exist all the time, so you'll still see these incredible structures. They may not be green filled with rice. It will be lush down in Ninh Binh, our next stop, but you will see this kind of landscape and peaks and valleys and terraces and people just going about their business up there. It's a very kind of local culture.
And I like our hotel. I mean, I just get the sense we got a really nice hotel. It looks out on all, and you can tell from that's right there, beautiful views and so forth. It looks like so. We'll be comfortable.
We will be comfortable. Just on that note, our hotel in Hanoi, I've been to 2 or 3 times now. It's lovely. It's new. It opened up just before the pandemic, so then it closed, and now it's back in business.
I forgot to put I'm sorry, I forgot to put a picture of that in there, but anyway, but it's
just a really unique spot down a little alleyway in the middle of Old Town, and your taxi will pull up, and you're probably thinking, "Where am I? Where's the hotel?" Because it's not right there in the front. You walk down this alley. Well, the alley is still part of the hotel, but they have constructed the hotel out of about 3 or 4 little houses that would have been off this alley. It's about 9 stories, so they've built up, but it's quite luxurious inside. The beds are so comfortable. Their breakfast is amazing. They have one of the best spas I've ever been to. They have a spa inside the hotel, and they give you, that's another thing about Asia. If you're into treatments, um, massage, whatever, it's so reasonable, and usually it's so good. And you go in, and again, you just the smell of the flowers everywhere, and they'll put your feet in a bath, and they'll scrub your feet off first, and then they'll take you to this room, and it'll smell like lemongrass or verbena. And in the hotel, obviously, it's going to be more than out on the street, but I think even in the hotel, it was something like $30 maybe for an hour and a half, and it was just gorgeous. It was lovely. You can go out on the street and get a foot massage for an hour for $3.
Oh
Just
my
have
God.
somebody, rub your feet. Sometimes it's a nice way just to take a break, go into a little salon or a little massage parlor and let them, massage your feet. But the whole service industry in Southeast Asia in general is just kind of lovely. Everybody's very service oriented. You'll find it just sort of a really beautiful experience in restaurants, in hotels, um, serving you your cappuccino with breakfast with a little, flour in it and that kind of thing. It's a very luxurious experience. Even if you're staying in a very sort of, average place, people just care about your comfort.
That's great. And I love this. This is on this, we'll be there
Yeah.
Sunday. This is the Sunday market.
Yes. I had to plan it around to make sure we were there for sure on Sunday market, because that's the biggest market day. It's about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours west of downtown Sapa, where we're staying. But this is a very authentic market where people from tribes from all around the countryside will come in and buy wares, sell wares, trade. So it will look just like this. Everybody, again, they're not dressing up for us. That is just how they dress to denote the tribe that they're from or the region that they're from. So we'll be there for market day, which
yes. And then we'll do a hike up to this area with the Hmong, which I've heard of before, but there are different minority up in the mountains, right?
Yeah, I believe the Hmong are originally from Laos, so they migrated into Vietnam, probably perhaps during the war. I'm not sure. Maybe they were there earlier, but there's a big Hmong population that's Laotian, and now they live in Vietnam. Yes, we will take a hike with a female Hmong guide, which will be kind of neat, a local person. The hiking is not strenuous, so if you're not a big hiker, trekker, outdoors person, it's not strenuous. If it's in fact something you don't even want to do, but you start and you don't want to do it, we'll have a van that will travel with us. And if somebody just wants to hop in the van and ride along, they can do that. I think it is maximum about 6 miles, but flat and easy. And if it's not something that appeals, then you just hop in the van and wait for the rest of the group to come through as you hike through this countryside.
That's nice. They thought of that. And so we'll have we're planned to have a lunch with a local family, but of course we're hoping that will all work. And we don't know yet which family or anything, but I mean, just look at look at the building, that home, that wood home, and I just love that that's so real, and this is just the way they live, the dried corn and all that. So beautiful. Let's go to so these, I mean, look, oh wait, technical problem. I was just blown away by these pictures. This silver waterfalls. This is just, and then this mountain. I mean, I did not know that Vietnam had all of this. This is new for me.
Yeah, they do up in northern Vietnam. This is the topography in northern Vietnam.
Wow, just gorgeous.
Rice terraces and mountain peaks.
Yep. And so this is a kind of a cool little place, Cat Village. I like the name. So so we'll go there. Do you know which minority is there? Which ethnic? The group
I'm
is,
afraid, no, I don't. I don't know who is there.
and
I
it's,
could find out, but I don't
yeah,
know.
that is beautiful. Okay, so after Sapa, we'll go, how do you pronounce Neen Bean? Or how do you, Nine,
Ninbin,
Neen Bean?
Ninbin, uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. And so here's another place that I had no idea was so beautiful. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The whole, this, I don't know if it's a city or this particular region, gorgeous water. It's just um, really connected to the waterways here and the mountains, and another nice hotel that we'll be staying at. Again, you can see out what are those, karst, is that what they call them?
Karst, yeah, limestone karst. In fact, this little town, this region is known kind of as Halong on land. We're going to Halong Bay, which is the water. And then this is, people like to call this Halong Bay on land because it also has limestone karst, and it has these rivers that will go through with these, we won't paddle at this point. We'll have people um, rowing with their legs. They use their feet to row the boats, and we'll go into some grottos, and we'll see some of there's some Buddhist temples along the side. Um, and so that's a little sort of excursion while we're in this area. We'll also have in the same town, we'll have an embroidery class because
Oh yeah.
this area is known for its embroidery, and a lot of the women there work in this embroidery business and make, tablecloths and shirts and napkins and things. The hotel where we're staying, the woman who owns the hotel is one of the famous embroiderers in town. So we're going to have a class at the hotel where, I don't know if we'll be able to make something quite as lovely as that, but they'll teach us how to do a little bit of stitching.
Well, I love that idea of getting to know the women, and especially staying at a woman-owned hotel is really
Yeah.
exciting.
And our tour operator is a female-owned business.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yep, owned by a group of women they're based in Hanoi.
I
Yeah,
love
this is the waterway that goes through. Those are the karsts again. Those big, kind of mountain. They're made out of limestone.
Wow, they look like gumdrops or something. Um, so we'll go up to or we'll go to the pagoda and this cave that just sounds like it's high up in the mountains. This cave, but I like that
Yeah, they have a cave that's filled with Buddhas that you go into, and inside the cave are an enormous number of little statues inside that you hike up to see.
wow, wow, beautiful. Okay, so after that,
It's the largest complex of Buddhas in the country,
is
in
that
this town.
in,
In Bin, which we'll go see.
okay, cool. So then we'll change again, and this is really exciting because we're going to do a 3-day cruise on the bay, the Bai Tu Long Bay.
By Halong Bay, which is a section, you've probably heard of Halong Bay. It's technically all the same area. These are just sort of like fingers off of a big bay, but Bai Tu Long is just one sort of leg off of the bay that is less visited than Halong Bay. Halong Bay can be pretty busy. A lot of the trips that just come for either a day tour or a one-night tour will just go to Halong Bay because that's the quickest area to access. So we are spending 2 nights on the boat, 3 days doing activities, and we'll be in a different section of Halong Bay where it's less touristy and people. That's our boat right there
Can you
on the
believe
left.
that? That is just
It's
gorgeous.
called an Indochina junk, a junk boat.
Wow.
There
So
aren't many left. A lot of them do not have the sails, or they're not the old wooden boats. But this is considered probably one of the very best boat on the bay. So that'll be kind of fun.
the whole,
Meals on board, and you go off and you do kayaking and you do swimming, and we have a barbecue lunch on the beach. At night, you'll have dinner, and then you can do squid fishing, and sometimes they show a movie. In the morning, early, they have somebody out doing Tai Chi with you before breakfast is served. So there's lots of activities on the boat, but it's also just nice to sit in a chair and look at the scenery. If you don't, some of the boats force you to leave the boat because they actually go back to port and pick up new passengers. So you have to leave the boat on a day boat and go off and do stuff. So you're gone from the boat all day, which is kind of a negative. This boat does not. We don't have a day boat. If you don't want to go out, you just stay right on the boat and enjoy the scenery and just hang out and relax. So that's a nice advantage of this boat, that they're not leaving to go pick up other passengers, and you don't have to get on a day boat. They have little rowboats that you will get into to go into little caves into a fishing village, but you're not forced to leave the boat, which is a
The,
big plus.
the whole landscape, the whole terrain to me looks like that from Avatar or something, or just like
Yeah.
those islands that were floating. I don't know, they're just amazing.
This is another World Heritage Site, and I believe it's now one of, you know how they have the 7 wonders of the world, and now they've created some different categorizations, like the 7 ancient wonders, the 7 new wonders, the 7 natural wonders. This falls into one of those categories. I'm not sure which one, but it was just voted into, I think, the 7 natural wonders of the world that are not those 7
Gosh.
ancient
Well,
wonders. But yeah, and it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well.
wow. So yeah, there's so much that I didn't know. I mean, about this. So, um, and then we after that. I mean, we'll have the 3 days, and like you said, I love that we'll be going to.
Then we go back to Hanoi, which is nice, because you just have a chance to, pick up a few last minute souvenirs, have another nice dinner out. I was telling Jeannie there's a place, it's right around the corner from the hotel that I went to in February when I was there with the group, and it was this seafood buffet. And the
Oh,
woman at our hotel, the concierge, told us about it. She said, "Oh, you should try this," and I couldn't quite understand what she was talking about. I'm like, yeah, let's go find it. And you go into this restaurant, and it's enormous tanks of fish in the bottom floor. You walk up some steps upstairs, and it was filled with more like young people. I'm pretty sure we were the oldest people there. It was just lots of large groups of like 30 something year olds. And you get all the seafood you want. And the seafood was from like oysters and sushis and crabs. I'm from Baltimore, so I know my way around a crab. I love a steamed crab. They had crabs and crab claws and just I can't even tell you everything. And it was $25, just all you can eat. And I have a picture of myself
I
where my
do.
eyes
I know. I
bugging
love
out.
that
And
picture.
they bring this whole tray of crabs. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you just eat it. You throw yourself little trash cans. You say, bring on more. And everybody in there's just, it's like a big party. Everybody's having a great time. So if you're a seafood lover, it's kind of hard to not go there.
Yeah,
So I thought that would be fun for the last night if, you know, just to go,
absolutely.
just have it out on seafood. And beers everywhere are about $1 or 2. Wine's a little harder to come by, but they have it. They do actually have a wine region in Vietnam, in the central mountainous region called Dalat, and they do make wine there. So you'll see that sold some places. Beer's more the preferred drink there, I will say, but they have spirits and fun cocktails. So they do have wine, but wine's not, it's not like we're going to France or Australia or South Africa.
Yeah.
If you like a beer, you're in good shape. If you like wine, it's best to just buy the whole bottle. If you buy
Ah,
it by the glass, you never quite know if it's
so much.
been, sitting around for a while. But it's, things are very reasonable there. It's kind of a nice thing about traveling there. Everything's very affordable. Everybody's really friendly. People love to, at least some of the younger people love to practice their English and talk to you. I went to get a coffee when I was traveling by myself, and I went to get an iced coffee on the street. Oh gosh, the iced coffee tradition, it's just amazing. You go up to these stands, and they take a plastic bag and they fill it with crushed ice, and then they take a dipper of hot espresso and then load it up with condensed milk, evaporated milk, some sugar, and they put it in a little bag with a straw, and
Oh my
it's
God. Yeah.
out of this world. It's about $1. And so I ordered one. And this young man next to me said, "Are you American?" And I said, I am. And he was talking to me in kind of pretty much perfect English. And he said, "Would you mind if could I just talk to you for a little bit? And could you tell me, where I'm making mistakes with my English?" And I said, "I'd love to talk to you. So we pulled up two little stools. We sat and chatted. He was 18. And I said, where did you learn your English? And he said, I just watch YouTube videos. And he had taught himself almost like, perfect English. It was hard for me. I was trying to give him a few examples of things that even trip up, native speakers. And he was just this nice young boy. So I bought him his coffee, and
Oh,
it was just such a nice exchange. This, 60-year-old woman talking to this 18-year-old boy, and he was just so excited to have, somebody to talk to. And it was a really nice moment. So you will find exchanges like that where people are still happy to meet Americans and learn English and hear about your country. And
that's so,
so,
that's
yeah,
great.
it's a very friendly place. It's affordable. It's service oriented. It's varied in its topography and its landscape. We'll be in the big city. We'll be up in the mountains. We'll be on the water. We'll be on rivers. It's kind of a nice little mixture of. It's a great opener for Vietnam, and then you'll want to go back. And you go back and see another part.
Well, let's see if anybody has questions. You can either write them in the chat, or you can just raise your hand or just speak up. And I'm sure after seeing all that, you might have some kind of. I know Mary Lou's not scared to speak up.
Yes, Anne, very nice to meet you. I'm curious about what your day job is.
This is it.
You're
I
a
have
travel agent.
Well, I'm not a travel agent. I organize my own tours for groups. I used to work for when I first went to Vietnam back in the 90s, I worked for a company that did investment tours for Americans who wanted to invest in third world companies or third world nations or emerging nations. So we went to the Far East a lot in the 90s because that was when the Far East was starting to really, take off. So I worked for a company doing that. And then over the years, I just started doing it for myself and just putting together a tour and taking people. And it just bloomed into, a nice little business. So that's what I do. Yeah, I'm not a traveler because I don't book airline ticket. I mean, I do for a group, but I don't do that kind of service. I just do groups. I guess I would say I'm a tour director.
Oh, and Mary Lou, you'll be interested. Mary Lou was just on our San Miguel trip, and so was Beth. But I met Anne and her husband and her three sons in San Miguel, and there's a certain bond that forms when you meet an expat raised with their kids. You're raising your kids in a different country, so you have that sort of bond. That you kind of have the same spirit of like, let's go and do, and let's show the kids the world. And so you're one of my, and I think I wrote about you.
He has two, and our boys were similar ages, so they spent kind of a year together hanging out. We live not far from one another.
Yeah, but I've written about you, Anne, that I think I was in San Miguel a couple years before you arrived, and remember, like, I felt like I knew everything about the city, and then you get there and you're so like on it. You found things I didn't even know about. And I was like, okay.
Well, I did. I lived there full time for 6 years, so that helps a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
you're really.
I love that town. That's how I started too, doing it on my own. I brought groups to San Miguel, and I love doing that so much that it's like, well, we can go farther. We don't have to just do San Miguel. So I think the women's trip to Vietnam was the first group I did outside of San Miguel.
Oh,
yeah, it was. Yeah. And that was a decade ago. And then I just, word of mouth, friends of friends, it just started, building on itself. And now I've been to Asia a number of times, South Africa, South America, Portugal, Spain.
Yeah. She's something.
I got a travel bug, which I imagine you guys do too.
Yes, I know some of these people for sure do. I see Patty. Hey, Patty.
How many people are on? I can just see 4. I don't know if it's. No, I can see 3. I see you and I and 3 others. But there are a lot of you out there that I can't see.
Yes, there was. I thought there was 10, but there's 9 of us. So, any other questions?
I have questions. So Mary Lou asked the fun question. I have the practical questions. Do you need a visa?
You do need a visa, and it's super easy to get now. Used to be a lot harder. You had to have a sponsoring agency and all that. Now you just get it online and you get it in 3 days, and it takes it's $35, and you just upload your passport and your travel dates. That's pretty much it. I mean, they have a few other things, but it's really easy. It comes to you digitally. You print it
Mhm.
out, go through customs when you arrive. You just hand it to them, and that's all.
Okay.
And we,
Next question, because I remember when I went to India, I want to say like, I don't know if it was a malaria shot or malaria pills or something like that I had to take. Like, is there anything like that
No,
beforehand? Nothing?
there aren't any requirements, nor does anybody take anything that I know
Okay.
of. You take a lot of groups to Africa, or mostly Southern Africa, and people
Mhm.
ask a lot there about malaria. And even there, I don't myself. I don't advise. I would say, talk to your doctor. But I took malaria once back in the 90s when I first went to
Mhm.
Africa. It was
Okay.
really bad then, and I did not have a good reaction. I didn't care for it, and so I've never taken it again. And almost no one takes them on my trips, and nobody, of course, has ever gotten anything. But it's definitely a personal decision. But you don't need anything for
Okay.
Vietnam. The only place I often hear it recommended would be Southern Africa.
Beth, you have any other practical questions?
I have a question about the boat. So the overnight on the boat. So like,
2 nights.
or 2 nights on the boat. So
2 nights.
is it our group, would it be your
No, it's
group
not it's
alone?
not a private group because it has 24 cabins.
Okay,
So
okay,
so it's still one of the smaller boats, but there will be other people on
got
board,
it.
who,
Okay,
unless fluke, they don't rent the other cabins.
okay,
There will be
And
others.
that's just, I mean, and that's good because, I mean, I like that it's on the smaller scale. I wouldn't want to be one of those massive
yeah.
boats. So, and it's our chance to meet some other people, that's how I see it. So anyway,
I know, sometimes I like being around, I like having other people around. You just sort of meet some fun people from
Yeah,
different countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, it won't be a private cruise.
and I do want to say too that, Anne and I and Marcy, who's, our travel person or travel manager, we can help with if you have questions that come up. I mean, that's kind of help guide you because I know it can be scary to think, okay, how do I approach all this? So that's what we're here for. We're not, as I said, we're not a travel agency. We're not going to be booking flights, but we can give you a lot of advice on stuff
Oh
like
yeah, for sure. And it's actually quite easy to get to. I don't know where people would be coming from, but I live in outside of Los Angeles, so I'm coming from the West Coast. And at least from the West Coast, as well as Chicago, Dallas, some other big cities, it's just a one stop. There are a number of carriers that have just one stop between United, American, Ava Air, Korean Air, Al Nippon.
where do they stop? Do they normally stop?
Well,
Like,
depending on which, the country, you're either stopping in Taipei or Hong Kong if you're on Cathay Pacific, um, Tokyo or Narita if you're on JAL, Japan Air. I just flew on them last summer. Yeah, so whatever the nationality of the carriers, you will stop in their hub.
right.
But it's nice that it's just, it's one stop. I think from the West Coast, it's about 13 hours to, well, again, if you go to Japan, it's a longer flight down. If you go to Hong Kong, it's a very easy flight. I think it's 2 hours onto Hanoi from Taipei's not too far either. So it's not terrible. You just get through one long flight. Meals are great. Meals on those carriers are just delicious, even flying over, because they're these wonderful Asian airlines that have this great service, with great food, and they just take good care of you. So
Okay, anybody else? Any questions? If this isn't your only chance to ask questions, of course. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to do, I don't know if, Anne, I told you that I draw a name, and well, first I'll say this. For this thing, we have to book by February, right? What's the date?
I need to double check that, but I believe
March.
it's, yeah.
We need to book this by February, March. And I do have early bird pricing. I think I put December 15th. It's going to go up, but I'm going to change it to a week from today. That'll go up like $200 because what we're going to start doing with all our prices, all of our trips, is as soon as we publish, there'll be the, early bird prices, and then like a month later they'll go up. But also, I'm going to draw a name, and somebody's going to get $500 off their trip if they book in the next week. So, and then the other treat is that anybody on this Zoom call will automatically get $100 off just because you're on the Zoom call. So even if you don't get your name drawn, you'll still get a discount. And remember, you get $100 off if you're a Next Tribe member. So we're starting, we can, and I just think the price is great because that's the price that we have basically for our 1 week Europe trips is about the same as 2 weeks, basically 2 weeks in Vietnam. So I hope you guys appreciate, I hope you think it's a good price, because I certainly do. And I'm really thankful to Anne for arranging it all and getting such a good price for us and such great things to see. So she's really good at that, sniffing out the best stuff. Okay, so here I am. Look, your names. I wrote all your names down. Come on, I'm shaking it up. Whose name? I'm gonna take this one. Sabrina. Sabrina gets $500 off her trip.
So, there's the winner.
There's the winner.
Awesome.
So, but don't despair if your name wasn't called, because you get $100 off. Oh, the pricing today. What's the pricing? Yes, the pricing today. Let me go look. I think it's like
$49.95.
It's $47.99.
Oh, okay.
It'll go up to $49.99, but let me write that in the thing. It's $47.99 right now. So with your next Tribe member discount, it'll be $46, and then it'll be $45.95 if you book in the next week with a $100 discount. And of course, for Miss Sabrina, she gets the extra bump. So I'm really excited for you. I get so excited.
Awesome. Thank you.
Question, may I interrupt just a moment? Oh, I'm sorry, Sabrina.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I have been to Vietnam once. I went about 4 years ago with a friend, and I did not get to go to Sapa because it was just too far to get there practically. So that's appealing to me. It did seem like it was. What is it going to look like when the rice is harvested? That's what I was thinking. Is it going to still be pretty, or tell me about November? And
it will not be the lush green that you see in a lot of the photos. That's more right after the rains and for the harvest. So you will still see the terraces, but they will have been harvested, and so they may be kind of, like a field that's been mown.
Okay, more brown.
Yeah. Yes.
And also, when is the trip confirmed?
Well, we have to get us a certain minimum, and we'll let you know when the minimum is. When we hit the minimum. So yes, I'm hoping by February, I would like the end of February, I would like to confirm it. So that's my plan.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious on airline points and trying to get seats and things like that. More, yeah. I don't want to book something that might not happen, but
yes, I agree.
But you need to go as soon as you can.
Yes, exactly. So we just need to get the bookings, and it's such a great place and opportunity, and I love that we're going to meet a lot of women, and we have some classes and experiences. That's always a great thing to add into the mix. So somebody says that booking your own air yes, you book your own flights, but again, we can't book them for you because we're not travel agents, but we can give you advice. We can help you, give you ideas.
Yes, I'm totally open to anybody just emailing me and saying, hey, are these the right flights? Do you recommend this? Are these matching up with the right days? Feel free. Happy to do that.
Yes. And we will leave this US on November 5th. And Anne and I had a lot of talks, about that. That is election day. So, you will, look at Mary Lou's like, oh, you will of course,
You will find out what happens when we land.
you'll find out what happened when you land, but you'll be in happy ignorance for a while. But we talked about that, and yes, you can vote that day or vote in advance and then leave, and
Mail-in ballot for your friend.
yeah.
Early voting, and maybe you won't want to come back.
Yeah, but
There you go. Somebody had to say it.
somebody had to say it. But we're so yeah, so that's when you match up the flights. You want to arrive in Hanoi on November 6th. So so just to keep that in mind when you start looking. And the other thing I want you guys to remember too is that we do have these great payment plans now with NextTribe. I mean, that's opens it up. I'll have to go look, but we have for this, it's probably 9 months. You pay a little bit over each month, so it makes it a lot more, feasible and palatable, is to be able to just take a little bit at a time versus all at once. So just keep that in mind as well. Beth? Oh,
Another,
sorry, one more time, unmute. Yeah,
unmute, okay. And just wondering if you have any knowledge about flights from the East Coast, like
Yes, because I took a whole group from Baltimore. And what did they do? Most of them flew on Korean Air. And I don't know whether that means maybe they went up to Newark. And I know there's a nonstop, Singapore Air has a nonstop from the East Coast, but you end up too far south from,
oh, okay.
You get
It
a
seems like a
nonstop from Newark to
from Newark to Singapore. It's like the longest flight in the world. Where would you be flying from specifically?
Probably, well, I'm guessing JFK because I don't know how, I mean, I'm closer to Newark to EWR, but I'm thinking JFK must have more options.
Yeah,
maybe?
I mean, I'd be happy to just, I don't know whether this blocks me out if I just look at something really fast
I'm
on my
looking right
computer.
now. I'm kind of looking what it's. I'm just going to search.
Yeah, Korean Air. I was thinking that's actually that's what the girls flew on, Korean Air out of JFK. It's actually a great connection. You you fly to Seoul and you have an hour and 40 minutes in Seoul, and then you are in Hanoi on a, let's see the details. It is about, where is the timing?
This one is 19 hours total from JFK, Cathay Pacific. I'm just looking at that.
Okay, Cathay Pacific, by the way, is just a really great carrier. I have flown on them a couple times. I'm trying to find you guys again. Sorry, I have so many tabs open. Here we are. Yeah, Korean Air or Cathay Pacific. Korean Air looked like they were about 22 hours, which is not bad for crossing all that way over. So yeah, there are options. You can fly to Seoul or Hong Kong in one stop, and then have a layover and fly on to Hanoi.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well,
But again, I'm happy to look up. I love looking up flights and things, even though I don't book them. I'm always trying to find some great options for everybody.
oh, that's great. I know it's like just for fun sometimes. Just like, where can I go? Where can I go?
That's how I ended up on my last 2 vacations with my children. I looked for the cheapest place that I could, and we ended up in Marrakesh and Lisbon, 2 different.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
With all 3 boys and Sam.
Just 2 made both of those trips. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what a great.
They've been to Asia, I think 3 or 4 times. So they're like, let's try Europe. So we did Europe and North Africa.
What a great, you're good travelers you have in those boys. Are there any other questions? Anything else we can do for you or answer for you?
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So, it's not confirmed that this trip is actually going, right? We need a minimum amount of people.
And we have to get to the minimum, and we want to do that by February, by the end of February. Anne has more specifics, but that's what I'm in my mind. So we've got a couple months. and, you know, tell your friends, get your
I mean,
friends.
obviously, the sooner it's booked, the better, because then you can start working on airfare and using points and that kind of thing. So it behooves all of us to make a decision more quickly rather than waiting to the end of February. Just once there is knowledge that the trip's running, it makes it a lot easier for people to plan.
And
And do we know,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Do you know the minimum amount of people that we need?
14. Mhm.
14,
14.
okay.
And I'm just looking at the amounts, for what, if you're doing a double room, it's 7 payment plans. It's like $600 a month between
Okay,
January and July, after you put your deposit down. A $500 deposit, then you've got $600 for, so, I mean, it just, for me, that always feels, and there's no interest. We don't charge an interest on that or anything. It's just
Mhm.
helping you, you know, budget and everything for something like that. So,
okay. And so the other question I had was, I may have missed it in the presentation, but will there not be an opportunity to visit anywhere where John McCain was held?
Oh, no,
as
we're going there. No,
yeah, I
we're going
saw
there.
that, put that in there, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
No, on our city tour in Hanoi, we will go to the Hanoi Hilton. That's not its official name. Its official name is Hua Bin. But that is where he was taken after he parachuted into Westlake, which is up north of where we are. I mean, it's a long walk, but it's in Hanoi. And his flight suit and his parachute are still on display. Part of
Oh,
the prison, yeah, part of the prison is still intact. Much of it
okay.
has either been destroyed or turned into condos and things, but they still have a section of it where they still have the you know, the jail cells, because they incarcerate a lot of Vietnamese prisoners and their dissidents and educators and political prisoners in the same jail. So they still have
Like a
some kind of,
museum?
you know, harrowing displays, and they have the cells, and but that is where he spent 5 years, and it's just
Wow.
at the end of the lake. Yeah, it's pretty moving. It's pretty moving. In fact, we do the Hanoi Hilton, and we do something sort of on the opposite spectrum called the Temple of Literature, which was the first university in Vietnam, and it was a university for 700 years, from 1000 to 1700 something, and it was where all the scholars came to study, and they studied Confucius, and they had to take these very serious exams where they would do them all in this building, and they lived there as well. It's this beautiful series of 5 different pavilions with you know, a big moat, and the rooms where they studied and lived, and it's very kind of green and beautiful and has a lot of the Vietnamese architecture. It's sort of a great thing to see, and it's very historical. In fact, the $100,000 dong, the currency is called dong. Yes, it is. The $100,000 bill, which is worth about $4, has the temple on it.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it's just really important in Vietnamese history, this university. And so we'll go there, and we'll go to the Hanoi Hilton, which is very close to the Women's Museum. But the Women's Museum we're going to do on our free day, or suggested that we do that together on our free day. And then I had a little suggested walking tour from there up to some of my favorite shops and my favorite banh mi stand, where we can get, you know, pate or the chicken and the egg on the nice baguette. And there's some great fun shopping. There are fun little boutiques, lots of kind of souvenir places, but also really, you know, neat kitschy stores. There's a company called Tired City, and they make great artwork on t-shirts and hoodies and posters that I think is done by sort of local students, but they have shops all over Old Town. I'm not sure how they
What
support
a funny name, Tired City.
Tired City, but I got one of their bags in my pantry this morning. I was giving stuff away. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to put it in my Tired City bag. I'm hanging on to that.
I
Yeah.
do
So
have one final question.
Sure.
And it may be in the literature, and I'm so sorry I haven't read anything yet, but say for example, there aren't unfortunately enough people to go on the trip. Now, for those who have already paid for the trip, will they get a credit for a future trip? Will we get reimbursed? How does that process work?
If the trip doesn't make, we reimburse you everything.
Okay.
You're just
So
reimbursed.
no harm in,
Yeah,
in
just
signing.
exactly.
Doesn't go, you're not out anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't sure if it was going to be, you just get a credit for a future trip. You don't get
No,
anything back. Okay.
that wouldn't be fair. That would be, wouldn't be fair. I don't
Well,
think.
a lot of agencies do that. So, but
No, I think that's not
okay.
fair. I think if you have to cancel, then it's like, then there's something else. But if we have to cancel, it's on us.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, good.
Sure.
Well, I hope to see you all there and be in touch. Write me Ann, do you want to write? Do you care or maybe?
Sure. Can I just spell it out for you? I can give you my email address if you have some questions.
Yes, or do you want people coming directly to you, or do you want them to go through me?
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah,
It's up
that's
to you.
fine. But if you don't mind, I just as I was
No,
saying, I don't
no,
know.
it might be easier because I can answer things directly rather. My name's Ann Hillers, and that is my email address. ANNHILLERS
I'm gonna put.
ANNHILLERS@gmail.
And I put it there, and then again, just
Oh, perfect.
there you have the
Yeah.
link.
If you have any questions at all, just feel free to send me an email. I'm pretty responsive.
Very good. Well, Ann, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you
all.
to visit.
I hope I see you all in Hanoi.
I
It
know.
looks
I
awesome.
do too.
It looks absolutely awesome. Thank you
Great.
both.
Tell your friends. Everybody
Thank you
bring
so
a friend,
much.
and I'm ready to go.
Tell your friends, and as Beth and Mary Lou know, even if you come and you don't know anybody, you'll leave with lots of friends. That's for sure. So, all right. Thanks all. Thank you.
Yeah,
Ann.
well,